When just sinners saved by grace.
Hey everybody, so I am back to discuss Saints and Sinners Season 5, Episode 7. So, this episode opens up with Ella basically packing up her office because, mind you, she is no longer mayor thanks to the previous episode. If you want to know more about the prior episode, feel free to check out my discussion in regards to Saints and Sinners Season 5, Episode 6. Anywho, Ella is packing up her office and Rex enters her office, and Ella immediately thinks that Rex came to rub in her face the fact that she is or has made a complete fool of herself, believing in Victor and believing that Victor would genuinely help her get the CEO position at Upsurge. And in all fairness, I'm pretty certain that Rex believed that that was the case as well. But Rex does not rub it in her face. In fact, Rex surprises her by letting her know that he is with her when it comes to taking down Victor. So Ella gets the idea to go see the one person that she knows Victor well enough to do so. And of course, that person is Leona. The next scene we have Jabari and Angela. They're kind of going back and forth in like some sort of employee break room, them and all their issues, right? So then comes the news anchor Anita, which honestly is the same person I thought they bought the news station from. So I'm like, why is she still working there? But nonetheless, in comes Anita, letting Jabari and Angela know that the views for the station is indeed plummeting, so is the ratings, and that they need to do something urgently. And her bright idea, which I truly believe that it was Angela who stuck a bug in her ear to approach them about this, her bright idea becomes, why don't we get Paige on the show to talk about what happened to her, to talk about her kidnapping and Dr. Kevorkian, etc. So Jabari is very reluctant, but you could tell in that scene he was kind of considering it through his facial expression because of the fact that he knows it's a good idea and it would really help with saving the show. So Tamara goes upstairs to find her children playing with Victor, and honestly, I had to scratch my head on this scene because I'm like, woman, who was watching your children? How did Victor get in your house close enough to be able to play with your children? What is going on? But anyway, Victor lets Tamara know that he wants her to sign over Upsurge. Tamara currently holds Malik's shares of Upsurge because Malik left it to Tamara upon his passing. So Victor has been out for those shares. He started off, asking for those shares in a subtle and more nicer way, but by this episode, he has reached a point where he is threatening Tamara. So he lets her know that she needs to sign those papers before the day is out. And for reassurance, he sends his goon to watch Tamara from outside of her house. But fortunately, Tamara manages to distract the goon and jump into a back of an Uber and run to the nearest off the grid diner. Mind you, at this point, it seems as though she may have given her children to either family or the nanny, so they were safe and secure. Tamara was not the only person in Cyprus that Victor decided to pay a visit. He found himself at the home of Stasia to threaten her for her baby. Now, at first, he attempted to bribe her for her baby, asking her to name the price for his grandchild. But then it became more of a threat as he saw Stasia was not willing to take his ridiculous offer. The visit from Victor actually afforded Stasia a chance to mend things with Kendrick because she sought out Kendrick's protection after feeling like Victor was going to live up to his promises, his threats. And at first, Kendrick was reluctant to believe her in regards to what Victor could be capable of, but then he told her he would protect her no matter what. So what did Kendrick need to protect Stasia? A gun, of course. And where was Kendrick to find such an item? From Rex, of course. So Kendrick finds himself turning to Rex for a weapon, and Rex is like, "What do you need a weapon for?" And Kendrick is like, "Mind your business, old man." And Rex is like, "You better watch it. You're lucky you're my son now, because if he was anybody else, no, really." But anyway, Rex gives Kendrick the gun, and in that moment Rex bonds with Kendrick by saying, that he can relate to the things that they would do for to protect the women in their lives. And I believe in this scene Kendrick forgives his father yet again because Rex admitted to knowing all along that Stasia child that she is carrying is not Kendrick's, and he also said, well, Kendrick wouldn't have believed him if he had told him the truth, to which Kendrick pretty much confirmed that was correct. Also, what I thought was interesting about this scene is that Rex wanted Kendrick to write down all the locations that he had ever delivered to when running those organ transplant errands for him. And I was wondering what that was about, because I know right now that whole thing is on hiatus due to the fact that Kendrick was arrested, Dr. Kevorkian was dealt with, and all this other stuff. So Rex has no dealings with that officer at the present time. But I'm like, okay, what does Rex have up his sleeve? So Jabari goes home and lets Paige know what is going on at his station and tries to get Paige to agree to do the interview with Anita. However, Paige is very reluctant because she has a feeling that Angela has something to do with this interview and she doesn't want to be caught off guard and embarrassed on TV. So Jabari lets her know, like, no, that's not going to be the case. And then Paige just has an epiphany out of nowhere and goes, you know what? I'll do the interview, but you, Jabari, have to fire Angela first, leaving Jabari standing there with his jaw dropped. But you know, happy wife, happy life. So Jabari indeed fires Angela, to Angela's surprise. And when he does so, he does buy out Angela's shares in the company. Ella finds Leona at some place. I don't know where the place is, but apparently it's not up to Leona's normal standards. However, I guess she assumes that Victor wouldn't find her there. But Ella manages to find her there, and she informs Leona of everything that has transpired back in Cyprus between her and Victor. And unfortunately, her explanation was met by laughter from Leona because you know Leona is still wicked, y'all. But she did empathize with Ella's experience, and Ella told her that she wanted to know what had happened in their past. You know, what was it that Leona had not told Ella about Victor? So at this point, Leona sits her down and explains the entire story to Ella in regards to Victor. So, what she explained was that Leona and their mother, because mind you, Leona is not Ella's biological mother, that's actually her sister. Leona and their mother used to work for Victor's parents as cooks and cleaners in their home. And Victor developed a relationship with their mother, and when they got together, Victor began abusing their mother. So it wasn't just physical abuse. On top of it, it was psychological abuse, verbal abuse. He also beat Leona the day of their mother's passing, and he branded Leona with the same branding that we saw Ella's sister, Victor's other daughter. We saw that she had a branded V on her that she showed Rex. Well, that's the same branding that Leona also has on her from back when their mother passed, and Victor branded her and blamed her for their mother passing. Not only did he brand Leona, but then he proceeded to threaten baby Ella. That is when Leona said enough was enough. She took Ella and she managed to escape from Victor's house. Victor later would find her back when, I guess, Greater Hope, the church Greater Hope, was at its peak of success, and he threatened her yet again for Ella. Leona made a deal with Victor that she would give him a newborn baby in exchange for leaving Ella alone and leaving Leona alone, because mind you, we thought Malik was adopted by Victor legitimately, but remember, it was revealed that Leona stole Malik when he was a baby, and remember, Malik and Jabari shares the same mom. So I wasn't certain how Ella was going to respond. I mean, she is no angel herself, but I wasn't certain if she would be okay with the fact that Leona stole Malik for her sake. But sure enough, she was very apologetic to Leona, because I guess for all of these years she misunderstood Leona, and now she finally understands all that Leona endured in order to actually keep her safe. So you could tell in that scene they really bonded, and Ella gave Leona her forgiveness. But after all of the, mushiness was over, Ella was back to business, and she wants to know, she wanted to know in that scene, how does she take down Victor? To which Leona responded, Because Victor is such a violent and angry person, the best way to take down Victor was to get Victor to lose control so that Ella can then control him. Listen, it made more sense when she said it in the scene. Anyway, because Jabari fired her, Angela was packing up everything from her office when Paige walked in to taunt and threaten her. Unfortunately, Paige doesn't exactly get the last laugh because we all know that Angela holds the evidence that Jabari accidentally killed his mother at the casino. And the office scene with Angela packing up her belongings to leave the premises would not be the last that Paige would have an encounter with her. Unfortunately, when Paige goes to do the interview with Anita, she is met by Angela, who informs her that Anita got sick and cannot do the interview, but that she was going to take Anita's place. This did not make Paige happy. In fact, it made her angry, if not nervous. During the interview, Paige began to ask questions and pretend to be overly friendly and started asking personal questions about Jabari and how did Jabari take Paige's disappearance. Paige attempted to play it cool because she knew she was on TV and she did not want to look like a fool. Sure enough, Angela decided to say, and I quote, "We should disclose to the viewers that your husband Jabari and I was in a romantic sexual relationship this past year." Then Angela went on to allege that Jabari had knocked her up. And hey, Paige turned around and knocked her out. And in case you were wondering, this was literally Jabari's facial expression the entire time. Meanwhile, Rex plays Inspector Gadget as he goes to a meeting spot where I guess Kendrick gave him the address to because it was one of the spots for the organ drops off. And come to find out, Rex was wanting to find this location to see who the officer that Rex had been working with. He wanted to know who that officer was working for because the officer wouldn't reveal who he was working for. Sure enough, a second car pulls up and lo and behold, it is indeed Victor. Somebody in the comment section called that one, okay? I would just like to point that out there. Many of you called that, so good call because yes, it is indeed Victor that is running this whole Cypress organ harvesting scheme. When Rex is finally at home, he sits and cleans his gun and he gets a visit from Ella, who is hysterical and shouting, "We have to get Victor, we have to get him." And Rex is like trying to calm her down. He asks her if she wants a drink, to get her to calm down. And he goes to make her a drink and he turns his back. When he turns back around, not only is Ella gone, but so is the gun that he was cleaning. So this entire time, Tamara has been at that chicken wing diner, and Stasia arrives thinking that Tamara called her there to discuss maybe their friendship and the fact that she's carrying Malik's baby. However, Tamara invited Stasia there because she wanted Stasia to go over the papers that Malik apparently left to Tamara upon his passing. When Stasia goes over the paper, she reveals that the paperwork showed that Malik, Levi, and Victor, and I suppose Upsurge was all involved in some sort of felony tax fraud. Now, that is what I took away from it because they said all three of their names. Let me know what you think in the comment section, but I would assume if they all work for the same company, that means all of them are involved in felony tax fraud. Nonetheless, it seems as though Tamara may have some sort of evidence that she could possibly take Victor down with. During this conversation, Stasia and Tamara did make up because Tamara asked Stasia, was the baby conceived when Tamara and Malik were together? And Stasia let Tamara know, like, no, the baby came way, this all happened way before Malik and Tamara were even together. And I actually wanted to know that myself. So I thought that was interesting that she revealed that. Unfortunately, while they were bonding and amending their relationship, the goon of Victor's pulled into the parking lot of the diner without them knowing. Suddenly, Kendrick arrives at the diner after the goon texts Victor to let him know that he indeed had eyes on Tamara at the diner. So Kendrick arrives, letting Tamara know that Victor sent him to take Tamara back to Upsurge, to which Tamara politely declined, and Stasia said that instead she was going to call Victor ASAP and let him know that she would be representing Tamara as her attorney and that she would not be selling her shares of Upsurge. And I assume the sudden boost in confidence came from the fact that they indeed had this evidence that Upsurge was committing felony tax fraud. So Kendrick was standing there confused, but like, whatever, it's no big deal. And then the three of them proceeded to leave out of the diner together. So this is where it got interesting. So at this point, the goon is still in the parking lot. No one is paying attention to him or even know he's there. Kendrick is volunteering or was volunteering to take Tamara home, and Tamara at first was going to go with him and Stasia back home, but then she was like, "Ah, it's okay. I'm just going to hang out here for a while." And they're like, "Okay." And so this is where I got a little confused because I'm like, "Okay, Kendrick came in his own car. Stasia came in her own car. Tamara took a Uber. So I assumed that Stasia was leaving her vehicle to Tamara. I just didn't get that. I still don't get it. Actually, I'm still scratching my head because I'm not certain. But nonetheless, Kendrick, when Tamara went back into the diner, Kendrick placed Stasia in the car and said, "I'm going to give you the keys to start the car so you can go ahead and listen to some music because I know how you like to pick your favorite music station." Stasia proceeded to do that. Meanwhile, the goon was on the phone with Victor asking for further instructions. So as this was occurring, Tamara, mind you, is back in the diner because she said she was going to have dinner there. Kendrick walked over to some sort of stuffed animal stand, vendor standing out there selling stuffed animals. Kendrick walked over there to buy a stuffed animal because he wanted to give Stasia back the engagement ring that he got her, or technically Chrissy got her, but the engagement ring, because earlier in this episode, Stasia gave it back to him. When Kendrick stuck the engagement ring inside of the teddy bear that he bought her, he proceeded to turn around and walk back to the car, at which at this point, Victor's goon had received word from Victor to proceed with their plans. Suddenly, Victor's goon pulls out some sort of remote control and he starts pressing all the buttons to activate whatever it is he's activating. Kendrick begins to walk back to his SUV where Stasia was sitting. It suddenly explodes. This was the one of the hardest scenes to see on TV and emotionally disturbing scenes to watch on Saints and Sinners because, of course, Stasia was in the car, not to mention she was pregnant. Now, I don't believe that Victor gave his goon permission to blow up his grandchild. I don't believe that. I believe what happened was when they finally went outside, there was a box truck that pulled in next to Kendrick's vehicle and that blocked the sight of the goon. So I believe the goon was under the impression that Tamara got into the car. I don't think he had any idea that it was indeed Stasia in the car because the windows of the vehicle was tinted as well. So I don't believe he knew, and I don't believe Victor would have gave the go ahead had he known his own grandchild was in that car. But sure enough, what is done is done. Not to mention he was still going to kill somebody. So Victor has just got to go. So that is it. That left Kendrick standing hysterically. Tamara was screaming in the diner because she's well aware that Stasia was in the car, and of course Kendrick was very distraught himself in the parking lot. And what is also crazy, if I'm not mistaken, Stasia had the evidence of the tax felony fraud with her. So if she blew up, then so did that evidence. At some point, someone has got to take Victor down, and it is going to be very exciting to see which one of these individuals in Cyprus that he has crossed and harmed, which one of them will be the one to finally take him down. Not to mention, we haven't seen Levi reign over things yet as well. So let me know what you think about this week's episode. How do you feel about the entire situation? What are your predictions for episodes to come? And that's it. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.
We just sit up, sit back, race.